Overtime! We are back in the garage, and this is a project that I've been wanting to sink my teeth into for a while. So this is the Dynamo HS6 cocktail that I got for 60 bucks at a midnight yard sale this past summer. And it was a bit of a mystery box when I picked it up. I sort of bought it without being able to get inside. We weren't able to test it or anything like that. And with the locks on this thing, I had absolutely no idea what was inside. Obviously, it's got Atari Tetris artwork. The Dynamo HS6 is the generic cocktail made by Dynamo, which produced cabinets, generic cabinets meant to have conversion kits installed in them. And so it had Tetris artwork, but I had no idea what was inside. And then when we cracked this thing open, we discovered, to our amazement and to my joy, a legit working Atari Tetris PCB with the correct cocktail ROMs. So this is really cool. And I'm really excited to get this game sort of all fixed up, because I want to bring this into the break room at my office at work. So why don't we dive right in? I haven't tested anything in this thing other than PCB, which I took out and tested in another JAMA cabinet. We'll get the top lifted off. There we go. Very interesting design. You see some elements of Midway, right? Midway style coin door. This cabinet allows you to actually move these control panels, so they can either be mounted here for side-by-side, two-player action, or go to either end of this cocktail cabinet for head-to-head two-player action. So we'll tilt up the top like this. And I'll bring you in closer so you can see what's going on here. Whoa, almost dropped the camera. That's not good. So these hinges back here are actually just like hooks. Let's see if you can even see what's going on in here. So there isn't like a hinge per se. You can tilt this back and it'll stay still, but it's just like these hooks. So we'll take this off. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is, you can see there's some swelling on the MDF for the cocktail top. This has obviously seen some moisture. This cabinet has seen some moisture. I don't think it's been in water, but the MDF absorbed the humidity. The rest of the cabinet is made with plywood, which is fantastic. But the top of the cabinet is MDF. I do have another sheet of MDF that we can cut and kind of route it. I think that's what we're going to do. This comes apart in a couple different pieces, but I think we're going to replace the sort of outer piece of wood here. But that'll come in a little bit. So I think what I want to do is pull this thing apart, get the monitor out of here, and we'll go like this. We'll spin this around. It's really interesting how this thing sort of opens up. I'm going to put a chair here and change the camera angle so we're back in frame. So there's some other brackets here that we undo. And again, kind of like a Midway cocktail. This should go, this should go. And we should be able to, tilt the whole monitor out. There we go. And keep it on this chair. I'll actually change the angle again so you can really see what's going on inside of this cabinet. So yeah, Dynamo definitely took inspiration from Ms. Pac-Man style Midway cabinets. Let's see what we have to disconnect here. And this is a K7000 monitor. I think I was able to figure out before exactly what model number, but it's a K7000 series. So here's our, come on, it doesn't want to let go. Sync wire here. All right, oh, it's got a lip, that's why. And our video connector. There we go. All right. There's that, and there's the power for the monitor, and there's a ground wire right here. Let me grab my, whoa, I'm all hung up. Grab my screwdriver with the socket driver attachment. I think that wire's just sort of hooked on. Yep, okay. So that's disconnected. And now what is holding this monitor in place? I think I'll grab my socket set. And yeah, the interlock switch from the Rastan converted to Zaxxon was grabbing my shorts. All right, how is this mounted? I think it's mounted up front. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Coming here way down low. Okay, down here there's a couple of bolts that are mounting the frame of the, come on, monitor to this sort of mounting contraption. So we will get these bolts off. And with those bolts removed, this monitor should just come right off. Am I missing one? Yeah. There's actually a third one in the middle here. All right, now we should be able to pull this monitor out. No? No. Is there something else grabbing it? So there are actually two more bolts over here that had to be pulled. And now I think I can remove this monitor. Yep, there we go. Put this off to the side. And we can come back and continue looking at what we got in this cabinet, which is honestly a bit of a mess. Like I mentioned, there must have been some kind of, it must have been in a really humid environment. There's lots of rust, which I don't love. Just gather up all of these nuts and bolts here. Make sure I've got everything. I definitely don't. Tilt this back up for a second, and there's this little arm that sort of locks it in place. There we go. And like I often do, I'm going to drop all the parts in a little cup just to make it easier to find. Sometimes I use a Ziploc bag, but just try to keep everything complete and together. So let's see what we got going on over here. We'll put the monitor power over there. Yeah, lots of I'll bring you in here and take a look. Like I was saying, lots of rusty hardware. So I'm trying to debate if I want to tumble all this stuff or just buy replacement hardware. All these nuts and bolts, they're basically just standard hardware that I can get from Ace Hardware. We have our power supply down here, and the transformer and the line filter look, very rusty. I think we're going to have to replace that. I don't know. Should I trust this JAMA harness? I don't know. I'm kind of curious to just fire this thing up and see what kind of voltages are being produced. So why don't I get the multimeter set up for that, and we can see if this power supply is working. Okay, we're set up to power this thing on and see what kind of voltages we're getting. I've got my multimeter set to AC volts. I've got my multimeter leads down here plugged into the monitor power plug. I have sort of lifted up the power supply. I had to remove a screw so that I could, easily access the terminals. And the terminals on this switching power supply are all rusty. Also, there is a power switch on this cabinet, which is right down here, but it's been bypassed. So there is no power switch right now. I've got the power cord for the machine plugged into my workbench that has a switch on it, so I'm going to use that to control it. So as the wind starts blowing all the leaves into my garage, we will power this thing on. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're at least getting decent voltage through the isolation transformer, which is disgusting. The thing is just all rusty, but hey, we're getting power out of it. Whoa, a lot of wind. So I'm going to turn it off. Oh, things are falling. We will disconnect our multimeter from here. And I don't really want to hold these things in place. I'll get my alligator clips onto my multimeter leads, and I will grab ground, which is actually here too. And I will grab 5 volts. And we'll see if this, switch it to DC volts, and we'll see if this old rusty Peter Cho power supply is working. 3, 2, 1. Look at that, 5.1. That is not bad at all. Oh, the LED light is flashing though. I don't know what to make of that. Let's see what the other voltages are looking like. This should be 12. 12's good. And -5, it's kind of all over the place. -4.6. So, very curious. So I'm not, I'm obviously going to be rebuilding this before I put this anywhere. And even though it's, private office for work, I still consider it a public location, and I'm not happy with everything I'm seeing. But I'd almost be willing to try this thing out. I think the cabinet's still on. Hang on. Yeah, it's still on. Let me turn this off before I shock myself. But you know what I want to do now is I'm going to test this monitor. I move the monitor over here. So I'm going to grab my Crafty Mech TPG test pattern generator, and I'm going to grab my little compact portable isolation transformer setup, and we'll test this rusty monitor and see if it's working. All right, I've got my Crafty Mech TPG plugged into the monitor. I've got my compact portable isolation transformer power supply connected to the monitor, and I think we are ready to give this a try. And yeah, every little, everything on this monitor is corroded. The heat sinks, the screws, the transistors. So I don't expect this at all to work. This is going to be a pretty significant rebuild on this chassis, but I'm curious to see if this thing works. So TPG is turned on, and we'll keep a watchful eye over here to see if anything goes up in smoke. Here we go, powering up, 3, 2, 1. We have HV. I don't believe this. Guys, this monitor works, and it doesn't look terrible either. I mean, we got a DeGauss, whatever issue going on over here. We got some kind of flickering. The focus isn't awesome. Let me see if I can adjust that real quick. I always forget which one is focus. Focus is the top. Let's see if I can adjust that real quick. My TV adjustment tool. I do smell something probably getting hot. So I doubt this monitor in its current state is long for the world, but we do have focus control. Look at that. Let me turn off the house lights. This is crazy. So this, we can step through the patterns here. That actually looks pretty good. I mean, it's got, oh wow, all the colors are there. Color balance or white balance is a little bit off, but look at that. This is a working monitor. So, oh, look how it's flickering a little bit. I'm sure, I don't know. We're gonna have to rebuild this thing for sure, but guys, we got a working monitor, a working power supply, that PCB was working. I got a working game for 60 bucks and I didn't even know it. Yeah, oh, look at that blue. We definitely have some work here to do. Let me actually try one more thing. I'm gonna hook something else up to this real quick. Give me a second. I'm far too much of a coward to plug in the Atari Tetris PCB into this thing, just because that is way too valuable of a PCB to trust with a power supply and a harness that, you know, I don't know for sure aren't rock solid. But I've got a 60-in-1 plugged in, which I kind of use as a sacrificial PCB, just in case anything's bad, anything's wrong. But I think I'm kind of optimistic that this is going to work. So everything's plugged in. I got the monitor temporarily back on the cabinet, just one bolt holding it on. The power and video and sync and ground are plugged back in. The cabinet is plugged into the workbench. And we've got 45,225 on the coin counter. I don't know if we looked at that before. Anyway, here we go. 3, 2, 1. We got lights on the 60-in-1. Are we going to get a image on the screen? Let's see. Got flashing blue. We got the initialization screen going on. Let me let this get to the, it's flashing worse than it was before. Let me let this get all the way to the menu and we'll see if these controls work. All right, this monitor's kind of dying on me, but, and the sound sort of wants to come in and out. You can hear it crackling. But this thing is working. This thing is working, so let me try corning up and did that put any credits on? I don't know. Are there any credits? I'm not hearing. It doesn't seem to advance the coin counter. The buttons aren't doing anything. Oh, it's on free play. Is it going to let me choose a game at all? Yeah, the controls don't seem to be doing anything. Interesting. Let me go try one more thing. All right, I decided to throw caution to the wind, and Tetris is working. Oh, what the heck? It's giving me a little bit of trouble with the vertical sync. There we go. And we got some issues. I mean, this thing definitely needs work, but if we start it, the controls aren't working. Oh, it is working. We can rotate. The sound's not working though. But hey, Tetris is playing, so we've got some work to do here. Let me go ahead and turn this off. I don't want to risk, you know, damaging this valuable PCB. But we've got some work here to do. I'm getting caught up on that Zaxxon cabinet again. So I think what I want to do at this point, do I trust this harness? I don't know. I'm going to strip this down. I'm going to do a deep clean. I'm going to rebuild the power setup. I'm not going to throw this stuff away because it is technically working, but I want to put a reliable, trustworthy power setup in here with a new transformer, a new power supply, a new line filter, the works. Needs a power switch, all that stuff. So we're going to build something like that. But let me strip this thing down so we can give it a nice clean. We can dig into these control panels. But guys, this thing is working. The monitor needs some help. But holy smokes, this thing is completely working. Another thing I want to do right off the bat is take apart the lid, the top glass of the cocktail table, and see what's going on. And it's kind of, I think it's kind of two pieces. Obviously, there's a piece of glass on the top, and this is upside down. There's this outer piece of wood that's MDF, and it's got lots of swelling, especially on the edges and corners. And then there's this inner piece of wood that I think holds onto this cardboard shroud sort of thing. So I want to take this all apart and see what's going on. I've got a bunch of screws here. There's these two plates, a plate on either side that's sort of holding this inner piece on. So let me take all these screws out. All right, last one. There we go. And to switch to the stronger screwdriver. So these plates, I guess, just come off. Yep. Okay. And this will lift off, right? No. It's kind of like, I think, stuck together. Let me see if I can wedge in a flathead screwdriver. There we go. That's not so bad. All right. And yeah, we've got this sort of, this looks like it's been painted. Even the cardboard looks like it's been painted, but we've got that. So inner sort of piece and shroud. The shroud's a little bit rough, but the wood actually looks perfectly acceptable. And it's this thing that I'm worried about. So let me go ahead. I'll take these brackets off for latching it. This is sort of the hinge kind of thing. And then there are these 4 clips that hold the glass on. So I'll give me a second and I'll take these off as well. There we go. One of the sort of hinge kind of hooks had a slight bend in it, but I was able to get that out with my channel locks. I'm going to try to remove these stickers and transfer them. This has a actually pretty nice quality sticker. We'll bring you in real close here to see it. All right. So that says produced for HS6 square top, because I think there was a square, was there also a rectangular top and a circle top, I think, too, for or by Dynamo Corporation. Model 0216000200, serial number 11. So that's kind of cool. But we'll come back to the tripod here. And we'll take this all apart. So I think this should just lift straight up. And there we go. And yeah, there's our wood, and if it'll show up on camera, lots of warping. So, and there is black T-molding that goes almost the whole way around. You can see right there. So we'll have to make sure we remember to replace the T-molding. But my plan is I got a piece of MDF that we will sort of rough cut to size, and then we will trace. I'll take the T-molding off, and we'll use my router and kind of trace the outside, which is just these rounded corners, and then this inner cut for the inner piece of wood to fit in. So I'll just put this off to the side for now, and this bezel has me a little bit concerned. Has this got layers to it? Ooh, there's something else here. Okay. There's some, I think, double-sided tape holding it together here. All right, there's clearly been moisture that's gotten onto the bezel and kind of fused it to the glass a little bit. So I'm trying to, as delicately as possible. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to reuse this bezel. Oh, it's just all ripping. I don't know if there's a chance I can save the Tetris stickers. Let me try peeling this up on my own for a second. All right, well, I got it loose, and I'm sorry to say it ain't pretty. We'll just flip it over. You can see all that, all of it got ripped and wound up stuck, you know, to the glass. I mean, that's going to be fine on the glass. We'll clean all that up and get, you know, we can reuse this. It's not chipped, it's not cracked or anything like that. But this bezel, however, is not something that will be easily reused. And it looks like it's two pieces here. This is sort of, you know, very reminiscent with the two blue lines of just a Dynamo generic bezel. And then there's also this other sort of piece here, which is held together by these Tetris stickers. So I don't really want to try peeling the stickers off. What I'm kind of got a mind to do is cut these out. Cut them out, and they'll really just be cards at that point. And then I can just get some black, I guess, like, you know, matte paper, you know, from a craft store, and I'll, you know, cut it to the exact shape that I need, because you know, for the most part, this thing is largely intact. So maybe I'll do that, and I'll kind of use them as cards and just kind of make my own custom bezel. I mean, the inside cut will be easy because I don't have to worry about this sort of two-layer thing. I'll just cut these out as cards and, you know, sandwich them under the glass. But, you know, that's this is a little bit rough looking right here at the moment. And now the glass itself, again, you know, it's dirty, and we got to scrape up all this paper that's stuck on. Yeah, I think what I'll do next is, you know, I'll pull the T-molding off of this, off of the old wood that we're going to replace. Look how warped this thing is. And yeah, we'll cut our other piece of fresh MDF, and we'll take a router and trace this thing. Okay, we're outside, and I'm all set up to trace the original, you know, tabletop wood onto this new piece of MDF. This is 3/4 inch MDF, which I think is the same material that Dynamo used originally. I've got it rough cut to size. The dimensions are about 24 by 28. So I've got it cut to about, I don't know, 25 by 29. And I've got it's sitting on my table saw. I've got it clamped together, but it's not clamped to the table, so I can move it around. Let's see. This is the bit that I'm using in my router. It is a top bearing flush trim bit. And as you can see here, there's a bearing closest to the collar of the router, and then the bit here. And so this bearing will run along the outer edge and then the inner edge of the original piece, and transfer that pattern onto the new wood. I've got a little bit of 3-in-1 oil on the bearing. I'll have to stop, you know, 2 or 3 times to move the clamps, and I'll put more oil on it. For the outer cut, I'm going to go counterclockwise. That's the way you're supposed to go. And for the inner cut, we'll go clockwise. That's just the way it is. So yeah, I think we're ready to start cutting. I'll come around over here, and yeah, we'll, the only thing I'm worried about is, you know, the surface of this is not perfectly flat. So I hope that doesn't screw things up. All right, here we go. All right, change of plans. The issue that I'm having is, in order to have the bit pushed all the way down, the collar is actually digging into the old material, which isn't great. That doesn't cause an issue on the new material, but I'm gonna have to attack this with a different bit. So let me get set up and make that change. All right, I've got the boards flipped around, so now the new piece is on top and the old piece is on the bottom. Reclamped it down. I've got a new bit, a different bit chucked into the router. It's a regular bearing flush trim bit from Freud. So the difference is the bearing is actually at the end of the bit. So when it goes down, the bearing's at the bottom. And again, it'll trace along. I've got the depth set, I think. It needs to go a little bit deeper. All right, now I've got the depth set properly, and we can come in here and begin our cut. I was worried there for a second. I saw this sort of piece coming off. I thought I was digging into the old material, but this is actually a tiny sliver of the new material. So we're good. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. I'll go around, make sure there's nothing. Oh, there's a little, maybe need to sand this part a little bit right here. Hold on a sec. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, I'm gonna go all the way around, make sure everything looks good, and then we'll set up for the inside cut. Okay, I've got my clamps repositioned and I'm ready to router out the inside cut. Again, because we're doing an inside cut, I am going to go clockwise. We want counterclockwise for the outer cut, clockwise for the inner cut. And because I'm using this bearing flush trim bit, it doesn't have a plunge capability because, you know, the business end of the router bit has the bearing. So I drilled a little pilot hole so I can drop my router bit into the workpiece, come up to the edge, and then start routering out the cut. So here we go. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's see if I can take this off. Here we go. We got a piece of MDF we can still use for other projects. All right. Oh man, all the sawdust. I'm gonna go ahead and get this all cleaned up, and then we can dry fit it and make sure that I made a good cut. Okay, dry fit looks really nice actually. Nice and snug, fits perfectly. So I think what I'm going to do, there's a couple of spots where, you know, it's just a tiny bit rough. So I'm going to give the outside edge maybe a light sanding, get everything nice and smooth. One more thing I need to do also is cut the T-molding groove. So I'll get it back on that the table saw, or maybe I'll just do it right on the table here. And I'll cut my T-molding groove into the new piece. You know, I've got a T-molding slot cutter bit for my router. You've seen me do this before on cabinets. Might be a little bit tricky doing it on this sort of loose piece. I'll have to clamp it down. But yeah, we'll do that. I'll sand it, cut the T-molding groove, T-molding slot, and then I'll be ready to paint it. I think I'm just going to use, you know, the Rust-Oleum satin black that I have left over in a can from previous projects, and I'm probably just going to use some foam brushes to make quick work of it. because you're not actually going to see this ever, right? Because it's going to be covered, actually, you know, it's upside down, paint both sides, but even the top is going to be covered by that cardstock bezel. So yeah, sanding, T-molding groove, painting. Here we go. Okay, time for a progress update with the Tetris cocktail. So I've painted both sides of the new, piece of wood for the tabletop that I cut. I think it worked fine. I used the Rust-Oleum oil-based satin black. Just I had it left over from a previous project. I painted one side with a foam brush. I actually did use a roller for the other side, just a really small foam roller. I actually just dipped it right into the paint can. Probably not a good idea. Both sides came out fine. I think the roller came out a little bit smoother, but still not perfect. But it's not going to matter because no one's ever going to see this black paint. It's just sort of, I don't want any of the unpainted wood to poke through because one side's going to be, inside the cabinet and the other side's going to be covered up with, a bezel. And I actually still have to go to the craft store and find some cardstock, black cardstock in that size. Coming over here, I've been stripping apart the cabinet, took the lock bar bolts out. I do think I am going to reuse the existing JAMA harness in this thing, which has sort of been modified. It's not fully populated. It's really designed for Tetris, so I'm just going to leave it in there, and it is working. I mean, the speakers might need to be replaced, but we'll see what goes on there. And there's so much rusty hardware in here. You can see the back of the coin door, how rusty that is. So we've got a lot of work there to either replace or remove the rust from all that hardware. Speaking of removing things, I took off one of the control panels. You can see it over here. There's no hinge or anything. It's just sort of a simple kind of metal box that mounts with 8 bolts onto the cabinet. And if we take a look inside, you'll see something kind of interesting. So this is a JAMA cabinet, a dynamo cabinet designed to be used for all sorts of games. And it looks like there's 4 buttons on either side, plus 2 start buttons. And the joystick was really what came through, it looks like a trackball hole in the control panel. So yeah, that's interesting. I might replace the CPOs on both sides, if I can find some, because it's just this generic stuff right now. And if I can find something Tetris related, maybe I'll use it. I don't want to go through and fill in all the holes in the metal here. That would be a ton of work that I don't want to do. So I'm going to stick with Plexi, because that's what's going on over here. It's probably original. It looks too professional to kind of be an operator job. And while this Plexi is in relatively good shape, the Plexi from the other side, I actually don't know where it went, is all broken. There's a corner missing, so I'm going to have to probably just make 2 new pieces of Plexi, which should be fine, but I'm not looking forward to figuring out how to bevel the edges or sand the edges evenly so it's not just sharp cut Plexi. But still trying to decide what I'm going to do there. An interesting thing that I want to show you over here is the joystick. So you can see I've taken the joystick apart, and the joystick shaft is all rusty. I'm probably going to replace the spring right there. But if we take a look at the joystick assembly, the base of the joystick, come over here, and you'll notice really kind of 2 interesting things sort of pop out at me. Look at all that green oxidation on the leaf switches. That's nasty. I don't really want to replace these, so I'll probably just try to take that corrosion off, that oxidation off. And it looks like the leaves are made of copper because of the green corrosion. I'm going to take that off with like a fiberglass scratch pen, I think is what I'm going to do. So I don't want to replace it because they work, right? And you're never going to see them. So the other thing that's interesting is count the leaf switches. 1, 2, 3, not 4, because there's no up in Tetris, at least not on Atari Tetris. You can go left, you can go right, you can hit down, which makes the pieces fall faster. But there's no up in Tetris, so there's no leaf switch on this joystick. So this joystick was configured for Tetris, and I'm guessing this probably came in a kit from Atari. And Atari, why waste money on four leaf switches when you only need 3? So Coming back over here, I'm trying to reuse as much as possible. I'm going to reuse the original power cord. It's actually in pretty nice shape. I did put a new plug on the end just because the other one was sort of jacked up. This was the plate for the power switch. The power switch is really kind of ripped apart, so I've got a new power switch in there. I just need to wire up the harness for that. And this is what was remaining of the original power switch, and look at this, if it'll focus for me. There we go. If you can read that, it says made in France. I've never seen that before. I didn't know that they really made much of any electronics components or electrical components in France. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. Here's the new power setup. I've reused the wood board that was originally here. I did sand it down a little bit to get some of the nastiness off. New transformer, isolation transformer from arcadepartsrepair.com. A new line filter, and this is a tab style line filter because I'm reusing the power harness, so that's all plugged in. I cleaned up the original fuse holder and put a new 3 amp slow blow fuse in there. And I did have to move it a little bit, reposition a little bit. This is the switching power supply that I'm using. This is a Meanwell RT125A. You saw me use this before with the J-Rock Qbert. A little bit higher quality than most of the other switching power supplies out there. And the form factor isn't something that I love because you can't access the terminals from both sides, and the terminals are a little bit smaller than typical switching power supplies. But this is really high quality, and because this is going to be a pseudo on location, figured we'd go with a nice power supply here. It's shorter, but it is longer than the original power supply. So I mounted it this way to give me some more clearance, and I had to reposition the fuse holder over a little bit so that nothing got tangled up, and I could sort of kind of access the fuse in there. But this is ready to go. Again, I'm reusing as much of the harness as possible. The next thing I need to do is start removing some of the rust from all these metal pieces. A lot of these are internal ones that you would never see, but some of them, especially the 4 clips that hold the glass, the glass top all together, because the glass goes with the wood and the bezel and all that. There are these 4 clips that hold it all together, and these are very much visible from the outside of the cabinet, and these are all pretty rusty. And there's lots of different ways to remove rust. If I really, what I would typically do is kind of take a wire wheel to all this, but there's a lot of intricacy, and I don't want to spend all that time sitting there doing all that, so I'm going to use this. This is a tool that you've not seen me use before. This is a tumbler. So there's a couple different styles. There's sort of like a bowl style that I think is popular for people that reload ammunition. This is a rotary tumbler. This is really marketed to like polish stones for like rock collectors, right? Geology nuts, I guess. Essentially, you fill this up with some abrasive media, and I'm using ground walnut shells. You can see it down here. This is, I guess, kind of designed for like terrariums. If you own reptiles, shout out dillweed. This stuff is, there's versions of this that are sold for, reloading, polishing the brass if you're reloading ammo. But I think that stuff is more expensive, and this, at a pet store is much cheaper. So that's what we're using. Basically, you fill it up. You fill this barrel up. 2/3 of the way with your abrasive medium or abrasive media. And again, in this case, we're using ground walnut shells. And you put it on this platform and plug it in. And, plug it in. And there's no power switch. And it just starts, rolling. It starts tumbling. And all of that abrasive media in there basically gently over time scrapes off all of the paint, all of the rust, and makes it nice and shiny. At least that's the theory. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I've actually already put, come on, kind of a little tricky to open this up sometimes. There we go. Open this up. This over here, and then there's an inner sort of gasket seal that you gotta unlock. Okay, here we go. and I've actually already put my ground walnut shells in here. So this is loaded up about 2/3 of the way. And, you know, I've got a relatively small tumbler. There's like a dual size, but they get expensive. And you can get you know, this is a pretty high quality one, actually. You can get a cheap, like, bowl style one, you know, from Harbor Freight or whatever. So I've got, you know, actually quite a lot of, like I was saying, metal that I want to tumble or get rust off. So I'm going to do it in stages. So I've got 10 different pieces here, and I'm only going to fill it up sort of halfway, or put half of the stuff right now that I'm trying to tumble in there. And I don't know what you guys think. Is this too much for this tumbler? I don't know. I feel like that's not bad, right? And they'll bang against each other or whatever. So we'll have to do this in a couple stages. We'll do this first. We'll do these next, assuming this works. Got a whole bunch of you know, nuts and bolts, and I need to, you know, get the rust off. And then, you know, once I get the cabinet all stripped down completely, I'm sure there'll be more that I want to tumble. So let's reassemble this. Get everything back on the way it goes. Okay. Make sure that inner gasket is sealed, because you don't want this stuff going anywhere. And you can also do this with, you know, liquids. Like, I know some people put vinegar or Evaporust in here. Like I think I was reading something on Clove that Andrew B. He actually does like a vinegar tumble first. Like, he puts the parts in with just vinegar and lets that, you know, has that tumble overnight before, you know, emptying it out, rinsing it off, drying everything off, and then, you know, using the walnut shells or whatever he uses. So we'll get this nice and snug. And here we go. And I'm actually going to put this on the floor just in case I don't want it, you know, tumbling off the workbench and causing problems. So I'll put this down on the floor here. And we'll put our barrel on, and we'll plug it in. And I think I'll experiment a little bit. I'm going to let this go overnight, let it do its thing while I'm sleeping, and then in the morning we'll check it out and see what kind of condition everything's in. Okay, it's been about 12 hours or so, maybe 11, and I want to open this up and see how things are going. So untwist this nut, then you kind of push down while pulling up at the sides. This is always, I put it on so tight. There we go. Take that off, and the outer lid and the inner lid kind of, you know, like I said, has this rubber gasket that you gotta break the seal. And no difference. Okay, I'm gonna let this go for, I mean, it's starting to flake off. I'm gonna let this go for maybe at least another 24 hours. And you know what else I'm gonna do? I've seen others do this. I saw John do this. I was watching one of his old videos. He had a bowl style one, which honestly, maybe I should have gotten, because that has a lot more capacity, but it's putting Novus in. And, you know, I think the pinball guys that do this like using Novus 3, so that's what I'm going to do. John used Novus 2, but that was all he had, so I'm going to shake this up, and we'll put some Novus 3 in here. It's all dried. Squeeze it in without the cap. All right. That's probably plenty. I got it all over my hands. All right, I'm going to put this back on the tumbler for, I don't know, another 24, maybe longer, maybe 36 hours. And we'll see if that makes any difference. This thing looks like a hot dog roller at a convenience store. I'm just going to grab it right off without turning it off. And yeah, so We'll get the camera mounted on the tripod here. So guys, it's been like 36 hours later. I left this thing running while I was out of town for a day. And let's pop it open and see what we've got going on here. Hopefully we're gonna find some good progress. Okay, come on. There we go. All right, let's see what we got. So yeah, 12 plus 36. This is basically gone for 48 hours. And let's see what kind of progress we've got. And unfortunately, I'm not super thrilled with this. Still plenty of rust. It's only just starting to take the paint off. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with this. And you know, I was kind of worried that this was going to happen. And even if this was working really well, the barrel here just doesn't have enough capacity to really do what I need to do, because I got a ton of other stuff over here. I got a whole cup full of nuts and bolts and other parts because I took everything apart that I could with the coin door. So I decided to break out the big guns, and I actually went and bought one of the bowl style, you can't even see it, one of the bowl style tumblers. So this thing, you know, similar sort of concept. You know, you fill it up with the media, the abrasive media. Again, we're using crushed walnut shells. And this one is specifically made for, you know, people who reload ammunition. You know, once you fire, you know, you got the spent brass casing, and you tumble that brass and then you reload it. So whereas this tumbler, the barrel tumbler, is more for people that, you know, I guess polish rocks or whatever. So, you know, we've got the thing loaded up again. It's about 2/3 of the way full with this crushed walnut shell. And let me grab all these additional parts. And hopefully we get better results with this. We go empty this over a trash can and fish out the 2 more parts that are in here. All right, last 2 clips. Part of me is also like wondering if these parts were too big, and they, like, I even found one of them kind of wedged in at the bottom. So maybe there just wasn't, you know, enough room in there for them to really circulate and tumble. But anyway, here's the other parts that we've got. Yeah, this is a lot, I know. And this, I don't even know if I really want to tumble this. You know, this is part of the coin door, and there's 2 of these. It's sort of, you know, this is like the chute that the quarter goes down. There's actually plastic in here, and I don't know. Maybe I can, because I can't do the other one, because the other one, the way the harness works, it's kind of stuck on there. Let me see if I can take the plastic part out of this real quick. Okay, I was able to get the plastic part out of there, so this is going in too. Not that there's much room, and I can already hear you guys now saying, Charlie, you put way too much stuff in here, and you are probably right. But I need to get this stuff done. Sorry for bumping the camera. So we'll put some more of the Novus 3 in there, and let me shake it up again. I so rarely use Novus, so I don't feel too bad. Or Novus 3. I use Novus 1 and Novus 2 quite a bit. So I don't feel bad about, you know, squeezing a bunch of this in here. Come on. Whoa, that was a ton. Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I can spread this around a little bit. Man. Yeah. Whatever. So I think this will spread itself out just through the tumbling action. So let me get the, where did I even put the top? Oh, it's over here. Put this on. All right. That goes on like so. And then our washer, and then our wing nut. Yeah, we'll tighten this down. But yeah, if I can reuse reuse as much of this original hardware as possible, save myself from having to buy, you know, brand new nuts and bolts. And I got all of the hardware that's visible from the outside, and quite a bit from the inside that's really rusty. The cabinet is really taken apart now, so I think that's good. Don't want to over tighten it. And plug it in over here. Okay, and there we go. And unlike the rotary tumbler, this one does have a switch on the power cord. That's not a good sign. Is this thing DOA? What in the heck? Oh, I had turned it off. The switch, I forgot I had turned it off on the power strip. So you can see how this is going. And I'm thinking right away we're getting more action here. So I'm gonna let this go for a few days. I'm definitely gonna put it on the floor to let it run because this will absolutely walk right off of the workbench. So yeah, let's hope that this tumbler does a better job faster and more thoroughly. All right, that's it. It's been actually a little bit more than 24 hours. So let's pop this open and see how things are going. I imagine that I'll probably need to let it go even longer, but I want to see what progress we're making. And yeah, I've had it on the floor the whole time. I just brought it up here so that you can kind of see it in action before I opened it. So here's our washer and our wing nut. And we'll take the top off here. And we can start fishing out our parts. And I'd say that's looking a fair bit better. And sorry if the light's weird. A fair bit better than what we were dealing with before. This has taken a lot of the paint off. Maybe this is anodized. I'm not sure. And I'm seeing a ton of like flakes of black paint, which is nice. I appreciate that. Let's see. This this piece was quite a bit rusty. And again, you can start to see it's coming off if it'll focus on this. So definitely making progress. Still a way to go, I guess. Let me see if I can find these big clips to hold the glass on. That's what I'm really interested in. Oh, here's our piece. So there's one of our E-clips or the joystick. Here's our, yeah, you can see like, it's interesting because it kind of goes, you know, when you're sanding or doing a wire brush, you kind of like delete the rust right off versus this is attacking all of it very gradually. So it's an interesting kind of wear pattern. So this needs quite a bit more time. Where's my big clips? Are they all the way down here? I can feel some of them. All right, here's one. Oh yeah, you can see all of the paint is really starting to flake off here. Look at that. Isn't that cool? But yeah, we're making great progress here. I'm actually quite happy with this. You know, still ways to go. So I'm going to let this go for maybe another probably 2 days. And I'm guessing by the end of 2 days, this is going to be looking real nice. So pop all that back in there. And then coming around over here, we'll get off the tripod. I've been working on the cocktail cabinet itself. It's basically completely taken apart at this point. Got the coin door off and the speakers and the vents and everything. One thing I'm a little bit miffed about is here on the coin door, you see this post right here, and it holds like the coin lights, and it holds the little 25-cent sort of pricing indicator. Well, that post is there, but that one's missing, and both of them are missing up here. The those posts were so rusty that trying to take the nut off just ripped the post off. So I'm gonna have to figure out some sort of way to fix that, to reattach those things. I mean, they're not really weight bearing. They kind of, like I said, they hold the lights in place and they hold a pricing indicator in place, whatever you want to call it. So if you got any suggestions on how to fix that, either with, I don't know, JB Weld or something to kind of hold it in place, let me know. Maybe even just drilling and maybe screwing in a little screw or something. But yeah, we're making progress. But I think that's going to have to do it for this episode. We weren't going to finish all of this in a single video. Soon though, very soon, I'm hoping next weekend, we'll do everything else that we need to get done. We'll have all of the metal pieces, you know, get all the rust off. We got to turn our attention to the monitor here and get this ready to go. I was actually just talking to Mike from Mike's Amateur Arcade Monitor Repair about how to deal with the rusty components, and he had some good suggestions for that. We'll get the tabletop glass all put together. We'll figure out how we're going to transfer the artwork. Maybe this is going to be more than one more episode. We got to get new plexi cut for the control panels. We got to figure out a control panel overlay situation. I think what I might do is just get a regular Atari Tetris CPO and cut it in half and put each half on either side. And we'll get all that back together. What else do we need to do? We'll restore the coin door, of course, and we'll fix up some of the imperfections on the cabinet and paint it black. But yeah, another episode or two, and we will be done with the Atari Tetris cocktail. And I know it doesn't look like much right now, but this will be something fun. Like I said, I'm planning on bringing this to the office, our new office at work. We've got a great spot for it. So looking forward to that. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So really want to thank all of the super generous Overtime Arcade channel members for their support. Look at all these amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. If you want to be like these great folks, click that join button down below to learn more about what it means to become an Overtime Arcade channel member. All the awesome perks that you get for only $1.99 a month. It's the best deal in town. It's the best thing going. Click that join button now to learn all about it. But yeah, I think that'll do it. As always, I've been Charlie, and you've been watching Overtime Arcade, and I'll see you next time.
Overtime!